One of your earlier appearances on Raw when you came back, you're doing the Goldberg entrance and you decide to headbutt the door. And then you come in the ring and you've got blood on your head.
I headbutted the door on the way out here, and the camera wasn't even on me. So,
Talk us through that. When you get in the ring, you've got blood on your head. You must have not even realized this has happened.
I had no clue. So remember the story about me being told not to headbutt anymore, and I punched the door, and that obviously didn't work, so I went back to the headbutt, right? Go with what you know. Well, I'm 50, and I am amped up like nobody's business, right? And I don't remember my entire sequence of things that I did to get ready for the match. I completely, it still is 13 years. It's not like I wrote it down. Okay, you do this 30 minutes before, you drink a cup of coffee, you do your stretches, you did, and it's like, okay, then you headbutt this. So I only remembered a certain amount of things. So I try to be the best at what I do. And so if I'm going to headbutt something, I want to be the best at it. So, man, I hit that door as hard as I could, and I don't think it was made of, like, real material. I think it was, like, concrete or something. Because the next thing I know, I'm seeing stars, and I got to open up the door and follow the camera to the ring. So I do, and I get to the ring, and he's pointing at me like, wipe that off your face. I'm like, what? They throw me a towel and wipe the blood off your face. I'm like, blood? What? Oh, my God. Where am I? What am I doing? Oh, microphone. Oh, what do I say? I had no clue. Absolutely no clue. I don't know where I was. So I started over, I think, 3 times. And then I asked you guys, the audience, to forgive me because I completely forgot what I was going to say. And I didn't lie. I was honest. I mean, where else was I going to go? Because, I had no idea what I was talking about. But I think that's why a lot of people grasp the return is because 50 years old, it's not realistic to come back as Godzilla. I can be the older Godzilla, right? So I had to come back. My first run, I was the Terminator. Okay? Well, I'm older. I'm frail now. I use a walker and all that kind of crap. And so now I got to be the Terminator with a heart, right? So it was an expansion of the character, but it made me more human. So I could go out and I could connect with people by telling the truth. Hey, I'm here for my kid. I don't care what you guys think, but I'm here for that little guy right there. And I was honest. And I think that's why I connected with people. One reason. That and I could still beat a couple people up.
And then there's Survivor Series, where it's going to be Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. And I think a lot of people were very curious because there'd been, the thing with Rusev where you had things you beat slipped because you'd overtrained. And people were like, what's he going to be like in the ring? What's going to happen? And then you guys have the match and you kill him in 86 seconds. Can you talk a little bit about how that was because it feels weird that Vince McMahon would bring you back and say, come back and just kill Brock on pay-per-view in 86 seconds.
Well, let's just say that it was the furthest thing from my mind that was going to happen. I had no clue because I obviously was signed to one match. We talked about one match. I came back, Survivor Series. I was going to do my thing with Brock, make Brock look like the monster that he is, and then go on about my merry way. And, man, for some reason they changed it. Because along the way, maybe people appreciated me coming back much more so than they thought, or I don't know what it was. I'm never going to sit here and conjecture as to the success of anything that I do. But something good happened, and it made the outcome flip. And then some brilliant dude came up with this idea to drop people on their heads, man, to turn them on their heads and give them something that there was no way anybody would have expected. Like, how in God's name is this 50-year-old dude who hasn't been in the business for 13 years going to come back and beat their man? It's just not fathomable. That's why it worked. So I didn't know it was going to happen. It was a different deal. It was, I think because nobody knew it was going to happen, including the people in the back, that's why it succeeded so much.
And the reaction that night in Toronto when you do that show and you go out and you have that match, was the reaction what you had hoped it was going to be?
It was unbelievable. It really was. I was such in awe of anybody remembering me in a positive note, anybody cheering for me. Like I said, man, I'm overly humble in that I never expect myself to do anything positive. But that drives me to work my ass off. Period. It just drives me to be the best at what I do because I never give myself credit because I don't watch matches and say, yeah, that was awesome. I watch them and go, ooh. No, I can't see that. And then when I did the deal with Rusev and I fell, man, I couldn't let myself relax. I kept beating myself up after that. Because God, Goldberg never slips. I don't care how old I am. I don't care how much I weigh. I don't care how strong I am. I don't slip. I don't make mistakes like that. So I wore it, man. I wore it right on my chest for a long period of time. And it's, it's a blessing and a curse in a way. It's a blessing because it pushes you to the highest levels, to levels higher you think you can go, right? But it wears you down. You got to give yourself credit every once in a while. And I never do. But that makes you work harder, I think.
But one of the things that you talked about way before you came back to WWE, when people would ask you the standard question, so if you were to have one more match, who would it be with? And you would always say Undertaker. He was always one that you wanted to have a match with. And you guys had that moment at the Royal Rumble where you guys faced off, finally. How was that for you get to at least have a moment in the ring with him?
Getting to be in the ring with Taker was awesome. At any capacity. But to create the anxiety that we did in that very, very short period of time, it was really cool. I've known Mark since before he was in the business. And he's a great guy. He's one of the guys that I looked up to. He's one of the guys that I followed in his footsteps, having the right mentality in the business and standing for the right thing. And he was a guy that I always admired, and I still do to this day, and I always will. And it was an honor for me to be in the ring with him. It was so weird because I was like, how do I act with him? What do they want me to do? I'm Goldberg, but he's Taker. So it's like, whoa, what do I do? How do you want me to, do I disrespect him if I don't look at him? If I stay in the ring longer than, I'm supposed to? Am I disrespecting? It was really strange, man. So I felt like a little green kid in there. Hi, Mr. Undertaker. What do you want me to do?
And then we get to WrestleMania 33, which was, 33 hours long. And
like I said, I just perform. I don't book the shows, man. I don't dictate none of that.
But the compliment to you, I'm not just saying it because you're here, is that show was so long and people were so tired at various points because of that show. And you guys were on fairly late on that show. And coming out of that stadium, one of the matches that everybody was talking about was Goldberg and Brock. And there was a lot of anticipation going into it. And it might be the best 5-minute match of all time.
How could you have a better 5-minute match than that? Plus, I don't know how many 5-minute matches there are out there, except for most of mine. But there's a lot that went down that night, at Mania, and there's a lot that led up to it. And like I said, man, to be able to be on that stage again is one thing, but to be able to be on that stage again in front of your family was so cool. It's like, are you guys main event? Do you want to be main event? It's like, I don't care when you put it on, dude. The main event or the position of the card does not define me or anyone else. Okay? You could have put me on first. It doesn't matter to me because that's just a placement, It's all about the chemistry in the match and about the outcome of the match. And you guys decide what's main event and what's not. I just knew that in that short period of time, Brock and I would freak you guys out. That's all. Because you got two monsters going at it. If they let us do our thing, then it's as violent as two human beings could ever be in that ring. It was different because a moment ago I alluded to the fact that, being your own worst critic is a blessing, yet it's a sin. That night, I let it be a blessing because I told the crowd in Glasgow, I never had fun when I wrestled. Never had a good time. Because I always put so much pressure on myself to be the best. I never was satisfied with anything that I did. When I jackhammered the Giant night after night, I was very satisfied with that. But I had never, people are like, hey man, it's your last match, possibly, and you're going out at Mania, and are you excited? Hell no, I'm not excited. I'm torn up. I'm a nervous wreck. Because I try, you got to be at the top of your game. You have to be. And the only way for me to be at the top of my game, is to be nervous as hell. But that night was different. That night was the most special night of my entire life, not because it was my last match, not because it was in front of 74,000 people, but when I went in gorilla position, I was laughing. I was as relaxed as could be, right? Well, mainly because I only had to remember 3 or 4 boobs in the match, but I knew you'd get a giggle out of that one. But I was relaxed because I finally took it all in. I went through that curtain and they were scared to death. They were scared to death that I was too relaxed. But what they don't know is I'm the antithesis of that guy. I can go from 0 to 150 in like 0.3 seconds, right? So, don't worry about me not being able to ramp it up. But I had to pull back. And when I went through that curtain and every step that I took, the slow steps that I took, I don't know if you guys remember this or if you could even see it, but I had the biggest smile on my face I have ever had. And it was relief. I was giving myself an opportunity to enjoy the time. So if anything that I say is a lesson, don't work so hard or be so serious to where you don't sit back and there's a reason why it's a cliche, but smell the roses. Because life's too short. This crap happening around the world at this point, Manchester, life's too short. Look at your family in the eyes. Give them a hug. Go out and smell the roses. Plant a tree. Do something very simple. But realize that the lives that we lead and the breaths that we take are very precious. And they could be snapped away at any second. So for that was an 8-minute match. It wasn't 5. 10? Come on, give me 10. 12. My 12-minute match that night, my 45-minute match that night was the coolest time I'd ever had because I finally let myself accept it and take it in and realize, hey, man, you're Goldberg. You're in front of 75,000 people. You're wrestling arguably one of the biggest, baddest dudes in the world, and you're lucky enough to have your family out there. So I had nothing to be – I had already done it. I could close my eyes and do the things that I've done for years and years and perform. So I truly, every step that I took, man, I was like this. I was so happy. I was like, wow, look at all these people. Oh, look how far I got to walk. They thought I was going to gas out by the time I don't think, the odds in Vegas were not whether I was going to win or lose. It was because it was whether I was going to make it to the ring or not. These people are so shallow-minded and ignorant. They think that when I go out to the ring and I sweat like I do, I'm not in shape. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, I pour a whole bottle of water on my head. So that kind of has a lot to do with the fact that I'm drenched. And number 2, I I don't. Let's see. Last week I didn't do it. And, it's been a couple weeks, but I mean, I spar with 18-year-old kids 3 times a week. That's tough. You got to have cardio to go 10 to 12 3-minute rounds with 30 seconds rest in between. That ain't easy, especially when they're punching, kicking, and elbowing you in the head. So, my cardio is there. I just didn't need it. So, I was prepared. I was ready. I'd done my lifting. I'd done my training. I did my cardio, well, lack thereof cardio. And I was ready, and I was ready to enjoy that night. And for the first time ever, I can honestly say that I had a great time in the wrestling ring. Win, lose, or draw, or after 10 suplexes, it was awesome. I had a great time. I wanted more. I did. I wanted like 20. I wanted 50. I wanted as many as I could do without him, knocking me unconscious. He got tired, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't me. That match was supposed to go 20 minutes. He got tired.
One more question, very simple. Is there one more?
One more what? Never say never, man. That's why I said it. Hey, I'm not dead yet. But hey, as long as I'm breathing, as long as people would want to see me, then you never say never, man. You never say never. I mean, I'll put my nose to the grindstone again and eat 18,000 calories and train 6 days. Oh God, I'm addicted to it, man. I love to train, so never say never. I mean, I have no idea, honestly.